Okay, everybody ready?
Yeah, go ahead.
Questions?
The players were, a lot of them said they got, it was a fun game to play.
Yeah.
A lot of players got to play, which was pretty satisfying for an offensive coordinator to see all the young
Yeah.
guys getting the chance to play game.
Yeah, for sure. And it was good for me to see like that second group, third group guys that had gotten in maybe earlier in the season, and we kind of really didn't move the ball well. And I liked it that they went in there and executed the offense. And Connor jumps out immediately because of the long run and the throw. But really up front, I thought our guys really played pretty well up front with that second and third group. And then the tight ends got involved and receivers. So it's always good to get those guys some reps, especially late in the year. A lot of times you don't get that opportunity, and we were able to do that Saturday. And it's always fun to see guys get in the game and smile on their face that maybe don't get in much. You go in the locker room and they're excited and happy. So yeah, that was definitely good. And I was glad that once we got rolling there in the second and third quarter, we were able to do that.
Chip, I did want to ask you about Connor. Mac after the game was saying that he's strung together, strong 2 weeks of practice, things like that. Where have you seen his game kind of start to progress and evolve as the season is kind of continuing?
Yeah, I think Coach is right. The last 2, maybe 3 weeks, he's just been maybe more sure of himself, more confident in practice, it looks like. I think you saw a little bit of that on Saturday. And, he was thrown in earlier in the year, really his first action, and that's a big step for anybody. And what I think you see is the ability he showed on Saturday is why he signed here, because he's a talented guy for sure. And when you get to this level, I think a lot of guys that are talented, what really separates them is their confidence and how they play. Because they all were good players in high school. So I don't know, one thing I always talk to our guys about, young guys, is like, you're still that same guy that was whatever you were in high school, the best player on the field, the best player on your team, whatever, and you got to believe in yourself and be able to do that. And I think for Connor, his confidence is improving and getting better. He's really smart. He's got talent for sure, but that doesn't always do it. There's a lot of guys in football that over the years that were really talented that maybe didn't pan out. But I think Connor, with his, he's very smart, he's tough, he studies the game. I mean, football's important to him, and guys that love football, usually they find a way to be successful, and I think he's made a lot of progress.
Have you seen in the past? I'm sorry.
Yeah, just
Yep.
real quick to follow up on that. Mac was talking about how he and Drake really have like a different set of plays, even that they kind of, run and go through. Just kind of like, what's the, dynamic there of, designing that first team offense for Drake, and then also having, a package for Connor and the times that he gets.
Yeah, well, I think you can't have a completely different offense because your O-line, they have to work the same schemes and so forth. But what we do is we try to build the offense around the strengths of our players. I mean, that's what any, I think, successful offense does. If you look in the NFL, in college, wherever, high school, your best players, you got to make sure you highlight those guys and you focus on those guys, and those are the guys that are going to help you win. So I think for sure he has a package of things that maybe fit his skill set, but at the end of the day, it's still zone schemes, it's still gap schemes, it's not anything crazy, but I think we have to do our best each and every week to try to put him in the best position because we know he's one play away from playing.
Have you seen in your time in this business when a guy like Connor finally gets on the field and tastes some success, that the confidence skyrockets and maybe he practices differently moving forward because he finally went from I think I can do it to I know I can do it?
Yeah, I think you're right. I think a guy that comes to mind really for me, we had Malik Willis when I was at Auburn, and he was a backup to Jared Stidham, and he got in some games there, and you could tell that he was talented, but really like raw and really, kind of not used to playing and been a while. And then you saw him go to Liberty and just kill it up there, and really became a draft pick in the NFL and most of that was just a confidence in being comfortable in what we were doing and what he did at Liberty. And I think that's a huge part of the development of the quarterback. Some guys develop quicker than others from a confidence standpoint and being sure of what they're doing. And I think Malik's an example of that, and Connor I think is making progress in that respect too. And again, when you got smart guys that care about football and football is important to them, they're going to be successful. It's just a matter of when it happens.
You look around the country, you see a lot of offenses that have quarterbacks that have their go-to one or two receivers sometimes. Whereas with this offense, you've got Drake, it could be Nesbitt one day, Kez Walker, McCollum, J.J. Jones. The list goes on of guys who've led this team receiving in a single game. What kind of goes into that dynamic with Drake and his ability to kind of spread it around amongst this offense?
Well, I think a couple things. One, there's been some injuries that have limited guys different weeks and so forth. But also, I really truly believe that when we run certain concepts, you know, the ball's going to go where the coverage dictates most of the time, and that's what you see happening. I think certain coverages dictate where he goes with the ball, and you know the goal for us is to put guys in each spot that are talented that can make plays. That way, when it goes to them, now don't get me wrong, there's always a handful of plays, maybe more, that you're calling thinking, you know, so and so is going to get this ball. There's a high percentage that he's going to get it, and you got to do that because our playmakers have to touch the ball as much as we can, and if the defense allows it. But at the same time, I think what it shows Drake is his growth too. Of going through progressions, running the offense, not picking one guy and locking in, and I think that's a huge part of playing quarterback is really to take what the defense gives you.
You've been around a quarterback that has that ability to kind of, like you said, take what the defense gives you and spread it around
Yeah.
a variety of guys.
Yeah, I think if you look back in my career, I mean, we've always really had a lot of guys. I know when I was at Troy, we had a ton of guys catch the football at Auburn as well. So I think for us, maybe the system that we run that helps with that. At the same time, we've had quarterbacks at every one of those stops who they were really good. They're really good at going through their progressions. They're really good at taking what the defense gives us. And I think, you know, with Drake, you know, he's got unbelievable. He's got elite ability for sure, but also he's very smart, very intelligent. And, you know, he made 4, 5, 6 maybe checks the other day that really got us out of bad plays into good plays. And, you know, his growth has been tremendous just from a standpoint of understanding what we're doing on offense and really finding our playmakers.
I mean, Duke's in the conversation for best defense in the ACC.
Sure.
If not the best, and the numbers are there. And like, what jumps out to you as you've started to study them? Like, I mean, the defense line's pretty nasty, but the back end is really upgraded back there with some athletes too that you know you might not expect to have run around at Duke.
No, you're right. They're one of the top defenses in our league for sure, maybe in the country. And you know, Coach Elko, I've got a lot of respect for him, and he's been at other places that I've seen his work, and he does a great job. They're very well coached. First of all, they play extremely hard, and you know their front is very experienced. If you go look at the starts and the number of starts those guys have, it's unbelievable. It's off the charts. How many games those guys have played. They've added a few transfers here and there as well, but you know they're very sound in what they do. Seems like they're always in the right place. They're very well coached, and they compete. And you know he's a defensive head coach, and you can see that. You can see that all over his defense. And I've been extremely impressed with what I've seen on film, and it's a huge challenge for us. And I said that last week. I said, you know, this last end of the season, we got all these games stacked, and you're going to see some really good defenses. So we're going to be tested, and we got to answer the bell.
Just in terms of your general coaching philosophy, do you try to limit yourself to, I'm going to watch 5 of these games or 15 of these games? Do you have to try to give yourself a number so you just don't binge watch too much and oversaturate it? Or
No.
is there a number you try to hit in terms of these are the games I'm going to watch?
No, we watch them all. I mean, we watch them all. You got to. I mean,
You got to stop at some point, right?
well, they only played how many games? 9.
Right.
Yeah. So we're going to be able to watch all those for sure. And then you got different ways to break the film down. You know, whether it's down distance, formation, doesn't matter. But yeah, we're going to watch them all. We got a lot of guys here, off the field guys that help preparation and have everything kind of prepared for us, which is awesome. And then it's get in there, roll your sleeves up, and try to do the best you can to give our guys the best chance to score based on our personnel and scheme and so forth. And it's a long process, and it's something that we spend a lot of time Sundays, Mondays, and Tuesdays really trying to get you know. And at the same time though, you can't do too much. To your point, I mean, you can't overload your own team, right? There's only so many play calls you have a game, and you're going to repeat some of them. So you got to be smart. I don't think you can overload your team, but at the same time, you never want to feel like you're underprepared. I think you'd rather be overprepared, and then you as the coordinator make the decision. Okay, we don't need to carry this or this, and that's part of our job every day.
Based on what you've seen on film,
Yep.
is this the most physical defense you will have faced at this point?
It's one of for sure. I think the thing that jumps out, the front 7, they're very physical. They attack the line of scrimmage. They attack the offensive line. The linebackers play downhill. Their safeties are very involved. Yeah, it's one of, if not the most physical we've played. I mean, we played some pretty good ones early in the year, but just these guys, you see it every snap. Those guys are going to play extremely hard.
How much do you game plan for like a specific player? Obviously, Carter for them is
A specific player.
Yeah. How much goes into identifying, you know, their stud on the defensive front or whatever, and what we have to do to neutralize him? And is that possible in a game like this?
Yeah, it is for sure. I mean, I think whether you're offense or defense, you're always trying to find the best matchups for yours. So if you're an offensive guy, what's our best matchup on one of their guys, you know? And then this guy for them is a really good player. So let's make sure that we've always got, you know, him accounted for in the protection or the run game. That's a huge part of game planning, because you know who the players are just by statistics and watching film. And sometimes it doesn't matter. They're good enough where they still make plays, but we have to account for their strengths for sure. And that's something that I think each and every week goes into game planning. And that D line, they're all four very active. So it's not like you can hone in on one guy. But you know, a huge part of success on offense, I think, is trying to figure out how we get, you know, our players in the best situation to be successful, and hopefully keep their best players from affecting the game too much.
9 games in, obviously you didn't call plays like your previous stuff. How comfortable do you feel now with your personnel, your system you're trying to put in place? I mean, you guys are the third-rate offense nationally in the country. It seems like you've kind of found your groove really these last few years.
Well, I mean, I love our players. I think our players are, you know, I've been with them now since January, so, you know, we're what are we, 9 games in now? So I got a good feel, I think, of what our team is. But it's not just me. All our coaches are involved in that. Coach Galloway does a great job in the pass game. Coach Porter and Coach Clem in the run game. Coach Kitchens is kind of both because of the tight ends and are involved in both. So I think collectively we try to do a great job of identifying kind of where we can attack that week and so forth. And each week's different. I've said that before, because of the fronts, because of the defenses you're going to see. And, you know, I think each position coach kind of has that ownership of their position. Okay, hey, here's our tight ends. How do we get those the ball? How do we get those guys the balls this week? That's kind of some of the things they look at. Or here's our running backs. How do we get our running backs the ball in space besides just turning around and handing it to them? There's creative ways to try to do that each and every week. Some fit and some don't, but I think it's a collective deal, and I'm really, really happy with the way our staff goes about that.
Chip, how has, with Omarion,
Yeah.
how would you say his, like the menu of plays that you can give or use him on, how has that changed? I'm assuming it's expanded since you started working with him. Like, how have you seen what you can do with him sort of evolve?
You know, really, since I've been here, he's had the full go. I mean, the biggest thing for me with running backs, because they're all pretty talented to be able to run the ball, is how do they play without the ball in their hand? So how are they in pass pro? Because that's a huge. You got a guy like Drake, you want to make sure that we're protected when we need to be, and the quicker those guys pick that up, the quicker they get to play. That's what you see a lot of times with young running backs. When they come in, they don't get to play early because they're not great in protection yet. And I think all our backs are capable. Larry does a good job of really teaching those guys exactly all the different looks, because there's a lot of communication involved from the center, quarterback, and running back to make sure that we're all protected. And when you don't have that, sometimes that's when you get pressure. But I think Omarion's really a smart guy that's really taken to what we're doing very good, and really been successful, and there's no issues with that at all. He's got the full go, and I think you see that.
So maybe that area more than an RPO or just an actual play where you're getting him the ball is what you're saying, in terms of the way he's grown.
Yeah, I mean, since I've been here, you know, I've only been with him this year. I mean, I've never seen any issues with that at all. Does a great job, whether it's pass pro or run game.
Doc Chapman, some
Yeah.
big plays in the last 3 weeks.
Yeah.
Had the big kickoff 2 weeks ago, and then
Yeah.
touchdown right after that. Is that kind of his wiring as a player? Do you expect to see more of that, or is that just kind of been a little bit circumstantial? That we've
Well,
seen that?
yeah, I think with Nate being banged up, he's had to step up. His role has increased, and you know, that's kind of what your goal is when you're building a team. Is when you lose somebody, the next guy step up, and he's really done a nice job with that. I mean, the kickoff return was huge, and then I think he caught the post down the middle pretty quick after that, and then last week made a couple big plays, and on the Copenhagen touchdown, he made a huge block to score him there. So I like the progress. Doc's playing some another good young players, you know, be here for a while, and he's already making plays for us. And you know, I think his role a lot of times depends week to week. You know, we play in a little more 12 personnel maybe than they have before. So we'll just see how it plays out. But really pleased with his progress.
All right?
All right. Thank you. Appreciate it.
Thank you, Chip.
Thank you.